Hello everybody and welcome back to Chapter Tactics, where we go over tactics and strategies to help out both new and veteran players alike. I am Magikarp, use Fly, and with me today we have our regular host with Demeki.
Hey, how y'all doing?
John P.
What's up, everybody?
And special guest, we've got the one, the only, Brad Chester.
Old man Brad, thank you very much. Let's honor the oldness.
Is that what you want to go by?
Our lives.
You want to go by Old Man Brad?
I mean, it's a definite, accurate description. So.
Okay, all right, fine then. Okay, we got Old Man Brad.
Old Man Brad.
Brad, how about you introduce yourself to people that don't know who you are? Which
I am the
go ahead.
I'm the oldest man in 40K and somehow randomly winning tournaments still. I think people just take pity on me and just let me win after I move things incorrectly. And they're just like, let him go. He won't be with us that long anyways. Just let him move his models.
Oh, poor Brad, his dementia's kicking in.
I just feel like he's all right.
Brad, this is Legion. We're not playing 40K.
This game's been over for so long. Let him keep doing it. He's moving ashtrays around. It's not even a big deal.
Yeah. So that's Brad. Also, we have returning guest Val Heffelfinger.
What an introduction. Hello, Mr. Magikarp. How is everyone on that side of the continent?
It's good. I think
It was a day for a lot of us today.
Yeah,
it was
a lot
day.
of us had a day.
It was a day.
It was a day.
That did not sound like the best how it things on this side.
Yeah.
Very non-committal.
West Coast. Well, it's West Coast. They live on a fault line. It's always
This is
such a
true.
go.
yeah, there's constant earthquakes all the time.
Yeah.
That's what happens here.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
We might join Hawaii soon.
Yeah. Last week we did the dice check tournament, like we did the first take of it, and when we were setting up, there was like this giant car crash apparently that happened across the street from us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Yeah. We're pretty sure someone died.
There was a stretcher at the very least.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
crazy.
all right, okay. Straight. I mean, that could mean a lot of things.
It's an omen. It's an omen.
Yeah.
Dehydration. Could be death. Who knows?
It could be the fate, the foreshadowing of what happened to planes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's true.
And
That's true.
buggies.
Yeah. So that's a good segue because today we are talking about the new data slate that came out on Warhammer Community. You know, when I woke up, everyone was talking about it, and I actually didn't know where to find it because when they said, "Oh, there's a new FAQ," I like opened up Warhammer Community. I went to the FAQ page, and like my heart sunk because I saw Chaos Demons and Grey Knights. I was like, "Oh no, what happened?" But it's not posted there.
You missed the huge thing at the top of the screen that said, right here, go to this.
Yeah. Well, see, no, the thing is that like I have the FAQ page like bookmarked on my phone. So like I immediately open up the FAQ page whenever anyone says FAQs, but they didn't post this data slate on that page, right? So you have to actually go to the Warhammer-community.com website in order to get access to that page. So that's why I didn't see it. And then I saw it, and man, this is some good updates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an update, right?
They're updates.
It's not even
That's
just
good.
the two things that I'm excited for, like super excited for this, are obviously planes, but I'm more excited about the fact that they committed to quarterly updates, man.
Yeah.
That you can literally miss with nerfs and everything else, but if you're doing it every quarter, that's such more health for the future of the game because it's never anything. Because right now you're like, hey man, this unit's busted, and you're like, cool, see you in a half year. Hope you figure it out by then.
Enjoy it while you can.
There's nothing like, to me, it's like absolute no-brainer, slam dunk, awesome move. This reminds me of when like Games Workshop first came back with Warhammer Community, and everyone was like, "Oh, Mike, we love you so much." Like they were just treating us mean, keeping us keen, you know. Like they've just been, you know, like ghosting us this whole time, and now they've responded to one text, and we're all like losing our mind.
We're back in. I'm never going to talk to them again.
Yeah,
What you doing?
All in.
What you doing? I don't know. Where you at? On my way.
Yeah, it's mostly been then like you text them and it's like new phone, who dis?
Yeah.
But no, man, like it's all they needed to do was, and I'd like to personally take responsibility for this happening after my call out last week on this very show.
I love the survey,
all
bro.
praise Val.
I feel like it was all me.
There's a survey, but also me. Yeah, I think this is literally fantastic. And what Brad said, like if they're committing to this quarterly, they could do anything with those quarterly updates, quite frankly. But as long as they just show that they care, like just show that you care.
And the thing is they don't have to over nerf stuff if they do this, because like before, we've had way too many times when they like General Grievous, 6-arm nerf batted some unit or whatever, and you end up never playable again. If you're doing quarterly updates, you can use your your nice touch on the units, as opposed to, I heard this is too good. How about if we basically take all its special rules away and make it go 50 points more? You're like, that seems too much. You're like, you guys said it was too good. We'll talk to you again next year.
They will be in truly uncharted territory when they unnerf something. I'm like really, really keen to see. Like, I feel like there's lots of 8th edition books that could be immediately brought into relevance just by removing like 8th edition nerfs from them.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I'd love to see, like if one day we see, like, for example, the buggies restriction gets taken away because blowing the lead, but like say it gets taken away because points go up on them or something. Like that would be awesome. That'd be a true, like, dare I say, living rule set.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, I think that we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. As you guys can tell, in this episode, we are very excited about this. There's a lot of stuff that we can unpack here. However, first off, we do have a Did You Know today, going over a little bit of some lore. John P., would you like to go over your Did You Know?
Yes.
Energy.
So today I have a Did You Know about Grimfang's cult. Grimfang's cult was a particularly notorious group of orcs known amongst their kind as the singularly most unorky orcs in existence. Why is that, you may ask? It's because they are actually a group of gene-stealer cults and orcs that were misbred together, and the result is essentially the worst traits of both breeds. So Grimfang's cult.
Yeah. I think I know like a little bit of that because I remember that there was one time that gene-stealer cults infested the orcs, but then when they did that, the orcs found out immediately that they weren't actually like orcs because they just acted differently. So maybe that's like part of that origin story. It's kind of funny.
It could be. I can imagine the orcs could just smell them, be like, "Hey, they ain't one of us."
I don't know, man. I really want this title though. De Brood Boss Magus Grimfang Sira de Great Beast. That's not going on, bro. He definitely has a huge hat. For sure.
All right,
That's how you're important.
So that was our Did You Know for today. Now, before we go into the main topic here, this show is brought to you by frontlinegaming.org, where you can get amazing game mats for not just your 40K games, but almost any tabletop game out there, like old man Brad's Legion game that he's playing, but he thinks that's 40K. So you can also purchase miniatures at a discount and join some of the largest 40K events in the industry. They also have the largest 40K podcasting network in the business, with shows like Signals from the Frontline, Chapter Tactics, which you're listening to right now, Grim After Dark, and so much more. That's frontlinegaming.org, or you can click on the link in the description of this podcast on all your social media goodies out there. Now, boys, I think that we're ready to deep dive into this this data slate here.
I want to start so much.
Yeah. The first thing that we should probably, we're going to work down from this data slate. And I think that, Demaki, do you want to talk about the first thing that is the biggest change so far on this data slate?
Yeah, so universal match play rule. When you're mustering your army for match play game, it cannot include more than one aircraft model. If you are playing a combat patrol or an incursion sized game, no more than 2 aircraft models. If you're playing a strike force game, or more than 3 aircraft models if you're playing an onslaught size game. So basically, if you're playing 2,000 points, you get 2. You're playing 3,000 points, you get 3. You're playing anything less than 2,000 points, you get 1.
So good.
Yep. That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good.
I'm not gonna lie. I hate the flyer mechanic with a passion of 1,000 suns. So that was the best thing that's ever happened for me with this.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just the problem is that they don't fix the mechanic it's non-interactive. We've had tanks and other things that are way too cheap, that fire way too much, but you can interact, you can do things with those. When Val basically parks something in front of me and shoots me 1,000,000 times, and then he goes, "You're not allowed to move through me, and you can't do anything. You can't punch me either. But your model's right there. Yeah, I'm in the sky, but apparently you're just really afraid of the shadow, and you're not allowed to walk under there either."
Lord knows I love to park things in front of you, but I think flyers are awesome for 40K because they look friggin' wicked. I love the look of flyers. Flyers are a big reason to action. The Dakajet, quite literally, me laying my eyes on the Dakajet after years away from 40K is one of the main reasons I got back into it. So I am pleased that they exist. Mechanics be damned. And also happy to see some limits on it, man. I like economy of choice, makes a game better. And that's what they've done here by limiting the amount that you can bring. Fantastic.
Yeah, and being a very, very big proprietor, I don't know if I used that word correctly, but a big supporter of the Harridan for Tyranids, which is an aircraft. I'm happy with this. You know, obviously I can only fit 2 at maximum anyways in my list because they cost 700 points each. But you know, it's pretty good. But I do think that. Like what Brad stated earlier, that this is kind of like a flash data slate, right? Like this is like a blanket rule set that they're giving to everybody, because there are obviously some problems with limiting aircraft, and the one that I think is the most apparent are actually remoras when it comes to Tau, right? Since remoras are aircraft and they can be in a group of 4. This means that they can only bring 2 as of right now.
Because it's models, not units. Yep.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's brutal.
Oh, it's models, not units.
Yeah. Same thing with Astra and stuff like that. You can't use
Valkyries
and everything else that come in squadrons. But I'm not gonna lie, they have to do something of this, because you could literally make the most non-interactive game. Hey, you play a bunch of infantry. I just parked planes in front of you. Hey, I'm playing Admech planes, which get all of the turns. I'm gonna do that every turn. I hope you had fun watching me shoot you. You're like, cool, this is a great game. I'll be over here doing shots if anybody needs me.
I thought they were trying to make the game more like Aeronautica, you know? I thought they were trying,
Hype it up.
I didn't know. I brought guys on foot while we were there. Come down here. I swear I'll punch you right in the head if you get out of that plane.
Could you imagine if this didn't come out and the meta stayed the same? So then like Eldar get their book, Craft Worlds get their book, and it's just like Drukhari, Admech, and
X-Wing fighters.
And orcs.
We did this so bad though, because of the fact that we were skewing so hard into the fact that if you weren't playing one of 4 factions, you really had no chance, realistic chance, or you had a huge uphill struggle of winning a tournament. You know, I mean, you go to it, and it made the game so skewed. I mean, you looked at results, especially when you're going over to the UK meta, for instance, and it was whoever went first just blew the other person off the board. And it's just crazy time. You don't want that kind of feel. I want to feel like every time I play a game, I can use my skill. I can, you're back and forth. It's, the whole point of playing the game is supposed to going, oh, I hope I roll this die and get more so I don't get my entire army picked up before I go.
Bring back the D damage table.
Yeah.
And I stopped you.
So those are the aircraft changes. Now, as a segue, the next thing that we're going to talk about is actually going to be the changes to Adeptus Mechanicus. But John P., how about you tell us how this aircraft changes affects now Admech along with the points changes?
Yeah, I mean, what Admech were able to do, because their bodies were so cheap and their planes were so cheap, they were able to bring 5 flyers, 3 Stratoraptors, 2 Fuselages, and just a bunch of really cheap, efficient bodies covering the ground. And with, like Brad was saying, you could just park the 5 planes right in front of them so that they couldn't get to your boys holding those objectives. Now, obviously, we're going to see less of that. Only going to be 2 flyers, probably 2 Stratoraptors. And then
it's 2 Stratoraptors.
Yeah. 2 Stratoraptors still.
You're like, it's Stratoraptors.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, there's a bunch of points increase for Admech also. Pretty much anything that saw competitive play since the Codex release came out went up from like 1 to 20 points.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. What was the biggest hike up?
The planes, the fuselages
I mean,
and Stratocopters.
the biggest hike, to tell you the truth, if you want to go percentage and everything, is the fact that the Cerberus Raiders went up 4 points. I think that's huge.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
big.
That was huge.
That's huge, especially considering how pivotal those units are in Admech lists.
Yeah. I mean, I think they were notoriously undercosted ever since 8th edition, to be honest. 16 points a mile for something that can move 12 inches, scout 12 inches, snipe characters, deal a bunch of mortal wounds.
All back when you get charged. They're so
Yeah,
ridiculous
couldn't
at
get
protecting
charged.
their own objectives. It's
Yeah.
nuts.
Quick
Exactly.
question from the ignorant person on the floor here. Now, from what I understand, a
No.
big deal with the AdMech has been, Skitarii, Vanguard, and Rangers, and for some reason, AdMech becoming a Horde army. They didn't change the unit size, and they only went up 1 point per model. Is that enough for you guys? Like, do you think does that do the trick?
It's the combinations for me, because the Infiltrators and Rustrockers went up 2. Cerberus Raiders was huge, going up 4. And the whole army, and the thing is that they lost only having the ability to take 2 planes. The nerfs to the planes points didn't matter as much for me. It's just the 2 planes period means a big deal. Together, this lowers their power level quite a bit, because a lot of times when it just felt unfair is when they were using that flyer mechanic plus their giant amount of bodies, plus Cerberus Raiders blocking out if you managed to get there, and then falling back from your charges. They had so many tools that were so cost efficient. That's what made them the #1 army for so long, is basically everything together.
Right.
Broken flyers, flyer mechanics, cheap bodies, units that could hit super, super hard, plus the ability of shenanigans with things like the Cerberus Raiders, Infiltrators coming up. They literally had everything that you want in an army: forward deployers, scouters, shenanigan moves, good flyers, cheap bodies, that put out super damage. So, I mean, you had to basically nerf them effectively everywhere, and they did. And the thing is it adds up to quite a bit when you look over the overall.
Yeah. So I'm playing Admech in the dice check tournament, actually, and I calculated my new points, or my new list, or the list. I calculated it with the new points updates, and I'm about 200 points over. So I'm gonna have to cut 200 points from my list.
Is that after you've taken 2 Stratoraptor things out of your list?
That's still with the list currently. So if I were to play with that list right now, I'd be about 200 points over with the balance update.
Yeah. Yeah. We went into the tournament saying, like, with the common ideology that we don't want to bring a lot of aircraft just because it was a little bit too strong. So we kind of like nerfed ourselves ahead of time.
I was about to say, I've got tons of words that I can't use in this particular cast to describe how I felt about those planes.
Yeah. So
Stunning model design.
So your list went up about like 200 points, right?
Correct.
So how do you think that the feel of the army is going to become now with these new point changes?
I think it's still gonna feel about the same. It's obviously gonna feel less bad for the other player. They're gonna have less bodies on the table. Gonna have less uninteractable planes shooting at you. I think one of the big things that people kind of looked over is that the Castellan robots got a points decrease.
Robots in the skies, baby.
Robots in the skies, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is with the robots, though, is if you bring the robots, you can't play with the Skitarii veteran cohort, which got untouched for some reason. There's still 10 points for the Skitarii Rangers and the Vanguards to get those units with the +1 attack, +1 leadership, +1 invulnerable save. So.
Okay.
We'll see how people react. People might just stick with the Skitarii veteran cohort because those units got untouched. People might try to shift away and try to bring some DACA bots. We'll see.
What do you think? Just wish listing here, but maybe if they're restricting units and they're taking whole data, like locking down whole data slates with this stuff. Maybe one day we see campaign books get banned. Wouldn't that be something?
Oh, like the Charodons and stuff?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
You
Well,
stay
yeah,
away
like-
from my
Well, no,
book.
don't do that to me.
Yeah,
I just got my Tyranids one. Don't hurt me like this, man.
I'll comment on that
Let's
when
be
we get
honest,
to
I bounce
Drukhari.
around so much in books. I have no loyalty. My hat should literally say no loyalty. I will bandwagon whatever I think's good.
Yeah.
Like,
What if
no campaign books? Cool. Which one of these doesn't have a campaign book? I'm in.
what if they did it like Magic? How you're able to play with like certain sets.
Oh yeah.
You're only allowed to
I
play
would
with like
love
these
that.
campaign sets.
Oh, you mean like Hearthstone and
Yeah,
stuff?
like Hearthstone.
So,
That's
but then
ridiculous.
I'd be playing the wild version of it. I'm playing sustained assault dice from second edition.
Yeah,
They kind of half suggested that when they brought in legends, like that. Like, oh, well, some tournaments will allow legends to be played. Like, no one ever did that. Like, we as a community have not embraced the idea of like we've always had like same but different formats, like all trying to do the same thing. Now that we have one core match play tournament format, maybe we do get fun stuff like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
It's it's like with the Legends thing, it's like Magic the Gathering has like that where you can use like every card in the game ever printed, but there's still a stipulation for like the cards called like the Power 9, where you can only have one copy of that card, where normally in like a Magic deck you have 4 copies.
Like that sounds like a great idea until somebody that's playing from the beginning destroys you.
Yes, exactly. Because every
made a lot of
single
money
one
in
of those
crypto.
decks is like turn 1, I win.
Yeah.
Like it is a coin flip.
That sounds that's like Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Yes, Yu-Gi-Oh is literally just
legendary guy
first
tore
one.
up the Chaos Orb and like sprinkled it on the table.
All right, so that's Admech. Is there anything else that you guys want to add onto these changes, or do you guys think that we nailed it so far?
Bradley.
I think that
Nailed
they nailed it. I think that the army is going to be similar but different, obviously. You know what I mean? But the thing is it's still as powerful. It's not like any of these units got any worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think the nerfs they did a great job with these nerfs. They didn't make anything unplayable. They made things just cost. Like you're going to have less models on the board. That's it.
Which I
As
think is
opposed-
very healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So much better than before.
So moving on from here, we have the Astra Militarum changes. Now, full disclosure, I don't know much about Astra Militarum. I try to, but I just look at stuff and it's like move, first rank, second rank, fire, and I'm just like, there's so many models, I don't want to touch them. So like, Brad, how about you tell us?
Player.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't know about this Astra Militarum, but I'll tell you some stuff about
About the
Imperial Guard.
Yeah,
son.
yeah. Something,
Astra Milla what
Cadian,
now?
something. Yeah, go ahead. How about you tell us about what's going on here?
One of the big things is that the Lehman Russ went to a 2-up save. I think that's actually one of the biggest deals there. The army's still made of blast, so they got a problem with people touching it, bad touching it. And then one of the other things is that tank orders can now be just given to 6 inches of literally anyone else. Just a tank commander can just choose a vehicle unit, a Mechanicus, a Basilisk and stuff, and give orders to it, which I don't
Sentinels.
know. Yeah, I mean, literally anybody that's vehicle. And I think that's a big deal. If you're going to look for nonsense dice being rolled, though, the biggest thing is that when you're using orders from an officer, the new thing is that everyone within 6 inches of that unit, the unit that gave the order, gets to do, like, so if you said first rank, second rank, everybody within 6 inches gets that. Now, they don't have move on the list, so you can't just go move, and just sling your entire army of infantry up, which would be kind of boss mode.
That would be kind of cool.
You can do, take aim, first rank, second rank, which is a big deal. I mean, if you have like Vengeance Acadia, you're going to make Chaos players even sadder than they are right now, as you're rerolling everything and you have 1 billion dice.
Yeah.
You probably time out after you roll all your dice and you get your 3 extra wounds, but
Yeah.
but I think that this is going to be, because my G players are going to throw stuff at me. I don't think it's a huge deal. I think it's a nice little polish on the rims, but IG needs a lot more stuff to make a difference right now than this. This is literally something, but I don't think it makes even remotely as much difference as the other things that we just got in this balance update. It's nice. Getting an extra save, getting able to do a little bit more with your tank, your tank orders, and getting hugely more with your infantry. This might be a big deal. I might be full of crap on this when you're doing stuff, but I just don't see that it's going to raise their level enough and to make it huge. So maybe we'll see. I'll just get very next tournament I go to, somebody's going to do this and just ruin me. With orders.
I think the biggest thing about this balance thing, and especially it being quarterly, and especially if they keep doing like buffs and nerfs, buffs are rare, right? So like in 40K anyway, is just that this gives like Imperial Guard players hope. Yeah. Who knows if this is going to be good? Like, like they got 3 months, 3 months to figure it out. Hopefully they have a codex by then. By the time they're disappointed, new stuff will be revealed, right? And like, that's why this is so great.
Man, what sunk cost fallacy is this? Like this is.
I could just wait 3 months.
It's both ways, though. It's nice though because even if you get a buff that's like, okay, it's still a buff. And if you get a nerf that's only a little bit, you're not bummed that that's maybe the only faction you play and you feel like you no longer have a chance. It's not like when GSC went from the number one faction to the last faction. You're like, hey, I heard you guys are a little too good. What we did is we threw every single one of your data sheets into a dumpster.
They got nerfed like Warhammer Fantasy Battles got nerfed. Like, just removed from the game.
It was rough.
Yeah. Speaking of vengeance for Cadia, which gives me PTSD, I swear, man. Like that's just one of the most stupidest stratagems in the entire game. Chaos Space Marines got a change with Death to the False Emperor, which is pretty interesting. You know, it still doesn't change their their Marines still being 1 wound, but
let's send out a quick survey to say, would you rather have Death to the False Emperor working against everyone or the 2nd wound? And we'll see how many people respond.
This is one of those, like, there's a bunch of factions that did not get anything in this little update here.
Yeah.
This is one of those that like maybe they should have just not done anything.
This is such a poke.
Okay.
This is such a poke.
Just if you're not gonna fix the wounds, just leave it.
Hey, you remember last September when we said we were going to give you another wound?
It's
still don't have it, baby.
It's just funny because they literally could have done like another paragraph right after that says change all data sheets to add this wounds to Chaos Space Marines.
You mean like what they did with Astra Militarum?
To Terminators. Like, yeah.
But which probably means that Chaos Space Marines Codex is probably coming up in like a very, very near future.
Yeah.
So
they said that all Chaos is going to be 2022.
Yeah.
So
it's the year of chaos.
Before the new year, which is soon, but still, it's just one of those things where you're like, really, guys? Yeah. It's kind of like when they went, hey, you can't cast psychic powers on different faction detachments there with you. You're like, were we winning so much we needed a nerf? I did not get the memo.
My favorite one was like when they nerfed being able to deep strike like Mortarion and Magnus, like before the Codex even really got out. I was like, really? Was that too much? Like you couldn't do that?
Well, I mean, Warp Time Mortarion with the new Mortarion was kind of that was busted. Like that was actually really, really strong. I find it funny that's still called Death to the False Emperor. And it's like just the lore of that is being like, yeah, screw the Emperor, and then like they're fighting Tyranids, and they're just like, what are you talking about?
that Gauntl's a sympathizer. He knows he loves the Emperor.
Yeah.
Or just Necrons that don't even know what you're talking about. You're like, who's Horus, man? I was asleep. What are you even talking about?
Stop hitting me.
Why are you so angry?
Now, the cool change about this, though, to play the devil's advocate, right, is that it's been changed to just becoming an exploding 6-up, right? Yeah. And so, which is kind of cool because before it would just be like an extra attack, right? That you would just have to roll. So now that it's just a straight up exploding 6s on literally anything that you fight in melee, it's kind of cool.
The thing is, it's better. I mean, the problem is that the things we were saying are also true, but 100% this does help chaos for sure. Yeah. Sure. It's literally more hits. Anytime you get more hits, you're probably going to be doing a little bit better. Yeah.
Also, I don't know if this is literally what you just said because I kind of gapped out for a second, but also it's not unmodified.
Yeah, it's
which
not
is
unmodified.
A standard 9th edition thing. So I don't know if that's what you just said.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that it's exploding, but yes, it is unmodified. So that means that if you do have +1 to hit in your melee attacks, that means that you get exploding 5-ups.
Not unmodified.
Yeah. Sorry.
Flawless Host is appreciating that.
So pretty good. I just like that Val just said, yeah, I kind of like blacked out for a second. Anyways,
I'm going to say exactly what you just said.
Moving on from here, we have Drukhari. So, Demeki, I see that you have a half sheet of paper here that you've been looking at this entire time. How about you tell us what's going on here?
All right, so much needed. There was some much needed point adjustments for Drukhari, especially when it comes to the succubus and witches. So the succubus saw a 20-point increase, but the homunculus saw a 10-point decrease. So rejoice, prophets of flesh. Then and then the witches went up 2 points, so they went from 10 to 12. We've got the grotesque going down 5 points from 40 to 35. Incubi went up 2 points, deserved, I believe. Kronos went up by 5. That is also warranted. Ravager went down by 10, which is interesting. Talos went down by 10. Raider did not change, but its Dark Lance now costs 10.
I was about to say.
I'm controversial. I'm controversial about that one. And then we've got minus 10 for both the jet fighter and the bomber. So they went from 160 for the jet fighter to 150 and 185 to 175 for the bomber. The others are the Trueborn and the Blood Brides. They both went up 1 point each. The Kabbalite didn't change at all.
The big deal, I'm not going to lie, the Blood Brides feel bad for that many points.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. Nobody's really bringing them. Like, I bring 5, but it's just because...
I bring a unit just for the AP. The thing is because you get the AP 4 when they get 6s.
Yep.
But, man, a 1-wound T3 model at 15 points.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
That's steep, bro. You know what I mean?
But I can see why they increase witches in general, just because they are constantly trading up in every fight.
I mean, I've been doing all right with Drukhari this year, so I mean, I'm not saying that I think, and again, I only play the broken stuff. So.
You know, and we were talking about this earlier. We were talking about, between a point increase and maybe a rules change. And I feel like when the book, because like both the book and the Charidon came out exactly at the same time, right? So Cult of Strife got a huge buff, and Cult of Strife is clearly the best witch cult out of all your options. So
you have the better strats
there's better stratagems.
No Overwatch, no reroll every all your wounds. It's just huge.
Yeah.
So you've got the relics, you've got a competitive edge, you know what I mean? You've got all of these really, really good things. And the thing is I actually don't think that Drukhari needed any rules changes. I think that you could always take care of Drukhari with just point adjustments. Like, for instance, my army went up 200 points. The current army that I was playing. And that's a 10% across the board there. And I think that that's fine. They needed it, which is fine. But the thing is, the army's still playable. And the thing is that Drukhari still dies. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of T3 guys with bad saves.
Yeah.
So you can still kill the crap out of them. It's just that they got to trade up so well because everything was so cheap. And with 10% basically added on, they're not going to be able to trade up as well. So the army will be just less powerful. Because the thing is you play that, you've got a bunch of dead people on my display always has a heap of dead people, but I'm going to have less of them now. So it becomes a much tighter game in those games where you were winning earlier.
I agree with that. The only thing that I'm skeptical about was the Dark Lance increase on the Raider, just because it hits on a 3. So you can easily -1 that thing. But then, if you take Cobble of the Blackheart, you get your free reroll, this, that, and the other. But it is only one shot.
I'm not going to lie. I can't tell you the amount of times I've never shot my Raiders, so it means nothing to me. If I could take it without a gun, I would take it without a gun.
Right.
and keep it cheap. I just don't care. I hide it's literally a transport for what's inside. So anytime you pop that out, it's literally a 10 wound 6 T6 with a 4-up save. It goes away when you look at it.
Right. But I mean, that's the problem that I have with it, though, is the simple fact that you have to take a gun with it. If I could have the option to not take a gun with it at all,
I'd love to not take a gun with it.
Then I would just take the 95 points and have the boat.
Yeah, because at that point it's just ablative wounds, right? Like that's all that really is for your unit.
So
Drukhari are I think sort of, I don't know, in the chats I'm in, are considered sort of like the actual S tier army, like the one that often has like the best chance at a fight. Recent results again, freebooters notwithstanding. Do we think that does this actually move them off the spot? Like, does this
I think it
Will this
pushes
be
it
enough, or does
sure.
it change? Does it change their archetype? Like, will they move to something that's a little more?
I would still say that
In
they're
the chats with that, I've been talking a lot. We've been running the where a lot of the Drukhari players have already been kind of thinking about what was going to be nerfed and whatnot, and we've been really moving towards being down with the thickness, getting all those thick boys, the Talos and the Chronos back out again.
Yeah.
Tentacle monsters.
Yeah,
'cause- go ahead.
Yeah, I still think that Drukhari is still going to be probably the strongest army in the game as of right now. But their win rate is going to drop along with Admech, which I think will look healthier for people that are looking at things like 40k stats and stuff like that.
Well, I think Drukhari's win gets propped up though in a weird way because they had bad matchups against Admech and they had bad matchups, horrible matchups against Orcs, but they had such great win rates against Marines, who make up 40% at least of the tournament meta. You know what I mean? So you basically go, hey, I'm super good against them, but I'm bad against them. So I get this big percentage going, and then you lose a lot of those big games against your bad matchups because they are still made of paper. So it's such a weird, and I don't know where they're going to go in the current meta because you literally took their two natural predators out in the wild, Admech and Orcs, and you put severe nerfs on them, and then you put 10% basically off the board of Drukhari. I don't know where they're going to be. It's like that weird spot of you lost the things that hurt you the most, but you also became worse against the things that you used to trade really well with. So I'm not 100% sure where I see them. I think they're going to be great. They're still going to be, around the top of top 3 armies, but I don't know exactly where you're going to go.
Yeah.
Now, quick question before we move on. How much were Blood Brides before?
Blood Brides before?
Yeah.
So they were 12, yeah.
12. So now they're 15.
Yeah, now they're 15.
Dude, that's like the same amount of points that Gene Stealers were before like 2 FAQs. That's funny.
And at least I got to play my version of my 9 Chronos list this past Saturday because like right now it's over with the new point adjustments. It's now over by 175.
Oh
man.
So,
jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else?
I literally got a flat 200 off my list. So
yeah.
Jeez.
There's some, I'm saying like because of the fact that they did the same thing with Drukhari that they did in Admech. They took everything that was good and mostly played and they gave it something. They gave it 2 points, 3 points, whatever, and that just makes a difference over the total, of the army. So adding a little, 2 to 3, it's basically 2 to 5 points if you count the Chronos. Everywhere is a big deal. It just adds up over the the course of the thing. You take a lot of units. I got 20 some units in my Drukhari army, so I also play I'm the king of the trash because I bring all of the MASU nonsense. But it just adds up, and the fact that it's a trade army. It's looking to basically have you run out of resources. I can put enough idiots on objectives and keep trading with you, and then just have some stuff left. You don't get to do that as well as you used to. So that's what I'm saying. It's
So
Marines,
well, at least not as all willy-nilly as it used to be. Yeah.
just want to hop in here because I'm sensing a little bit of Drukhari homerism. And I just want to put a little check on that because I believe you were saying that they're just beating up on Space Marines. They're not that good. Don't worry, guy. The reality
have
is
a double build hat that has whoever you think is the best on each side, and be prepared to spin it at any time.
8% of the lists in 40K right now. 25% of the 4-0 lists. So they've gone undefeated 21 times since August to Admech's 17. So the boys they're doing just fine.
Yeah.
They're doing just fine. I don't know. I've been having a tough time winning games. Damn it!
All right. So is there anything else
We
that
can
you
talk
guys?
about some life choices, but
Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about with Drukhari before we move over to Imp Knights?
Brad, I think I got a question for you. What do you think is going to change? Or you think that people are going to just drop witches in general and start bringing more Drazar and Incubi, or what? What do you think is going to change?
I'm leaning towards that. It's been a flurry of stuff on all the Discords and chats and everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of us were pre looking at it because they've been talking about the fact that they're going to have a balance change, which we thought was going to be farther on, but just planning for it. And I think you're going to see more Coven. You're going to see less witches just because of the fact that if witches aren't point efficient trading up,
right,
then you're not going to see them as much.
Right.
So Succubus at 80 points, I'm still taking a succubus 80 points. It's still good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
However, the HQs are fine. It's just when you go into like troops like that, I think that you're going to see more things like Artisans of Flesh and stuff with that -1 damage.
Yeah.
With there being so much 2 damage in the meta right now, being -1, that's huge. You know what I mean? So I think you're going to see more covens, to tell you the truth, and I think you're going to see less of those spamming raider list and things of that nature, because I think you don't get enough bang for your buck in return anymore with that. So I think you're going to see more coven. You'll still see some of that because Hellions didn't get touched and they're fantastic still. You've got things that are just great in the army. Incubi went up 2 points. I don't care. I'm still going to take 5+ man, 3 5-man units Incubi and or more going in. So I think that you're going to see similar, but I think the thing is I actually like it. I mean, I hate anytime you're playing something you don't like having nerfs to what you're playing.
Yeah.
But I think with these nerfs, you're going to see other army styles come out of this because of the fact that it's not just, oh, this is clearly good. Boom, click, 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 done. I've got an army. Now you have to make actual decisions. Oh, this doesn't trade up as well. Is this good? Maybe this other unit, you know what I mean? There's tons of data sheets in that codex that are just really good.
Yeah.
And the thing is that you have to now actually take some time and put together a good army as opposed to just going, this is good. I can clearly see this is good.
Yeah, I would like to see more
I think
Lilith.
which I think I feel like that's healthy for Drukhari players out there to give them a little bit more stuff to think about. I think that we have talked a little bit too much about Drukhari at this point.
You can never talk too much about Drukhari.
With you
unless
two
I'm not playing him anymore.
Drukhari
Bigger
connoisseurs.
stories of this thing. So that's all good.
Yeah. Next up, we have Imp Knights and Chaos Knights with their changes.
This is the biggest buff, dude.
This is
the biggest
insane.
buff,
I love
hands
this
down.
buff.
This is
It's not
so
even
cool.
close.
So, Jumpy, do you want to go over what both of these armies are getting?
Yeah. So all vehicle models with the Imperial Knights or Chaos Knights keyword faction keyword gain the following: towering foe. This model counts as 5 models. I said 5 models when determining control of an objective marker. 10 if it's Titanic. And then, in addition to that, if every model in your army either has the Chaos Knights or Imperial Knights faction keyword, excluding blah, 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 then all Armiger class or War Dog models from your army gain OBSEC.
Wow, this is so good.
huge.
Now,
I mean, it's literally changes. The Knights literally went just like instantly up a tier level from where they were.
yeah.
Wherever you think they were, they're now in one more tier. This is so big because not only did they get OBSEC on these without having to do any Freeblade stuff, but you also now count as either 5 or 10 models. So you can't just steal. I mean, a lot of times your entire strategy playing against Knights is that you can just snake objectives from them. With them being OBSEC and counting as models, you can't just put a 5-man squad. Cool, you didn't take it from me.
yeah.
That's just a big deal. I mean, I really think this is the biggest buff that came out of here.
Yeah, I think sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, and I think the thing with Knights too is like they had absolutely no issues killing things.
Yeah.
their problems was holding the objectives.
Yeah.
And now this solves that. So let's go Knights.
Yeah, because the first thing that I got this morning when this even got announced was that our friend Big Red over at the Long War, that's also part of the team that I was playing with over the summer, he was like, hey, can you look this up for me? And I was like, well, what is it? And he's like, can you check if the Forge World models got the Chaos Knights keyword? And we looked in the fact and it wasn't there. And then finally I didn't have my compendium book with me. So I looked in the app and I entered the book into the app, and sure enough, for both the Chaos Questoris Knight in Majera,
Questoris.
yes, it has Chaos Knights, and so does the Chaos Questoris Knight Styrix.
It's a big deal, man, because
Yeah.
that was the
Those
big
are
thing
words.
for Chaos versus Imperial Knights is those keywords being missing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's cool is that Titanic, most of these Knights are Titanic, right? Yeah. So whatever you're running, you're going to be counting as 10 models, especially when you're going up against things like Marines that take 2 troops nowadays because it's mostly just attacks. So you're able to challenge these Marine players to be able to control these objectives by just touching onto an objective with your 10 model unit. It doesn't give you OBSEC, but
Yeah, but if they're
The
like
little
Vanguard
guys do,
veterans,
and it's
and stuff.
5. I mean, you got to figure people are bringing all these 5-man units.
yeah, MSU.
Yeah.
Contest.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. And these guys, you got to think that, man, you can make these guys super fast too. You know what I mean? Depending on what you give them and where they are. Those guys can haul. So you could literally steal objectives from people as a small knight. That's like something no one's expecting you to do. So
A little doggy. I think what would be neat is if Knights got a stratagem, since they're just so big to like just push them all off an objective.
Just punch something off an objective.
I'm just gonna kick you off. This is mine.
Yeah. Roll a d6, whatever the number is. You push them back that much in any direction. Just that'd be broken.
Knights do need. I'm not gonna lie. My favorite strat that people had suggested was that Knights get a strat that says that they can just rickroll through a building and just cause infantry.
Just Kool-Aid man through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, it's mine.
Yeah, runes especially, that would make a lot of sense. Like, again, I'm gonna be that guy who's gonna be like, did this go far enough? Like, I've asked this question 3 times in a row now, but for real, like, I've always wondered, like, why don't they just get like the amount of wounds they have remaining is how many that they got to hold an objective? Is that insane?
That sounds kind of hurtful, I think.
They still have the problem with the fact that they have a problem until they get something. They still have an issue with the third secondary. So they're going to score way more primary now. And that's the thing is I think that Knights were already, like you were saying, Knights didn't have any issue killing people. They had problems scoring. Yeah. So now that they basically kind of consolidated and wrapped up the ability to now take some primary points, I think that the army gets strong. You know what I mean? The only thing is that they're third secondary action. And in certain missions, you play priority against them or direct assault, you're going to be like, well, that Knight player might get 100 on me because this is going to be a tough game.
Now, that's some cool stuff. Now, what about these Necrons, though? Now, people that are playing Necrons are just, this is like, I could hear them screaming in joy from like my bedroom. Like, it is just insane that they have given they gave core to so many different units. It is crazy. Like this has always been Necron's problem.
Transporting destroyers now, baby. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
And the thing is you can now put my will be done on something that you actually
want to use. Yeah, that you actually want to use it on. Yeah. So, like, it's nuts to me because this has always been the problem with the Necron's Codex that a lot of people were saying was that there's just not enough core, something Codex creep. They wrote it wrong. There wasn't enough core, and now you have it. So Necron players, you literally have nothing to complain about as of right now when it comes to core. Like you have a lot of stuff to play with.
You got stuff to complain about.
I was going to say maybe some point adjustments.
Well, yes,
maybe some point adjustments.
I understand.
That's what I thought. Like the core was interesting, but the fact that it didn't come with any point adjustments, I thought was kind of weird.
Well, because there's an FAQ still coming, or the field manual still coming.
The Munistorm field manual or chapter approved, whichever one it is.
Yeah.
So I think this gives them a lot of things. You got to figure that now you can veil these units. You can put them in transports. They can get my will be done. You can, with rerolls and stuff. I mean, if you're playing with the big old Silent King, a lot of these things are terrifying. Oh yeah. If they get full rerolls. Yeah. I think it gives you so many more options as a Necron player. I don't know where it's going to put them. You know what I mean? They're still having issues. They probably need they do need point adjustments. But this gives you so many options of just figuring out different combinations in your list now, man. And you figure you're still just making them all OBSEC. You know what I mean? So you still have that going. I think this league really picks up their power level a lot. They still have a ways to go, but I think this is fantastic. There's so many things that open up for Necron players in what you can do with the list. And I'm sure there's things that I didn't even think of yet that, you can do to combo these up with, strats and powers and rerolls and everything else.
Yeah.
So
I think like the original gripe of Necron bros across the world was that like, they're like, oh, cool. New Necron Codex. Oh man, core seems to be pretty limited, eh guys? And then like Space Marine comes out and like,
everything's core.
Your Dreadnought's core?
Core units.
Yeah. You're like, what do you mean? What's not core? You're like Centurions. You're like anything else? You're like, I don't think so. We just didn't tell them where the party was.
Yeah.
So this is wonderful. This is writing, I think, like a legitimate wrong, a slight. And Necron players, I think, are pretty what's the word? Crafty, grimy, grindy.
Grimy. They're grimy.
Shifty.
Like they're a dedicated robot space zombie fan base for some reason, and so kudos to those guys, and I hope they find something
I think
nice and sexy for them to use here.
See, I also think that why this is such a big deal as well is because when you think about it, Indomitus, like 9th edition kicked off with the Indomitus box that had Space Marines and Necrons, right? So people that did join during 9th edition with this new edition drop, when they were like, oh, let's go split a box with my friend, and then they decide to pick up Necrons, and then they realize that they have all these rules that like that kind of suck. Now they're just like, oh wow.
You're like, wait a second. What are your special rules?
Yeah.
You better guess right because you got protocols that might be good.
Yeah.
They might be bad.
Ask me what I've built out of my Indominus box.
Space
Yeah.
Marines. Oh,
The
sorry,
Space
brother.
Marines.
Yeah. Because go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, if you split up different Space Marines into different factions rather than all as one, Necrons are the third most taken faction in the game. So like this satisfies a big part of the fan base.
Oh yeah. It's a good move for that 40K did with, or that Games Workshop did with putting these in. All right, we got the big elephant in the room here. These orcs.
Oh wow.
Poor orcs.
The poor Wog. This is very divisive.
I don't know because I did a whole clinic. I literally did an orc clinic about this, and I yes, 100%. A lot of the armies that were playing the,
Brad, what happened?
5 to 6. Well, first off, 2 flyers per army. Second off, when mustering an orc army, you can only get 1 of any buggy type. So you can take 1 unit. You can still take the full squadron, so you get all 3 guys, but you can only take 1 unit of snaz wagons, booster blasters, scrap jets, squig buggies, or shot jump dragsters.
Blah 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 blah.
Yes, any of your but that's a big deal because we basically had orcs become a spam list of go first. You're not allowed to hide. I'm AP +1. I'm getting a bunch of shots. There's no hiding. There's only hoping for death.
Wait. So it's like. Notwithstanding, I've also love like for the factions that got nerfed. I also really love like the guys who are like just like the ride or die bros who are like no matter what your friend does, if he's in a fight, he's getting in that fight with him. Like those people are like, yo, Admech, why are you picking on Admech, man? And like people are like, what, yo, why are you nerfing buggies, bro? What's your problem? It's like, come on, man. Like I think like 99.9%. Well, maybe that's a bit heavy, but lots of orc players are just fine with this because I don't know.
I think that there's tons of things you can do with the orc codex that is going to be cool. I mean, the thing is I've seen already. You've seen some people kind of getting ready for this and putting stuff. Perry, for instance, was running a watered down version of kind of consolidating in, only running 2 planes. A couple of other guys, Rich Kilton was running some, skill rigs and stuff like that. And I think that there's so much you can do with the orc codex. There's so many other things, but it just got overshadowed by speedwog, let's do this, 6 planes and whip trucks. What else do you need? My opponent will be tabled by 1. Who cares? I don't need to take secondaries.
Some people say knowledge is power, other people say power is power.
It was just possibly the most unfun list to play against, win or lose, because it literally went, I have to go to the other side of the board as fast as humanly possible and hug your buggies so everything else doesn't murder me. And I don't feel bad. I mean, these 2 are, they basically, you needed to put points nerfs on Drukhari. You needed to put points nerfs and obviously the playing deal on Admech. And let's be honest, this was possibly the feels badsiest army. You know what I mean? When they went first and you went, cool, call me when you're done rolling dice and just tell me what I need to do. Because you couldn't hide. You're like, hey, my plane tip, my wing tip says I can see you. Oh, my AP3 indirect over there also doesn't care what you're hiding behind. And you could smash some stuff. I mean, we had the 10-minute first turn of SoCal.
Well, we were all there. Like,
we saw that firsthand.
Yeah.
It was illegal.
Multiple times.
You're like, hey, game's over?
Yeah.
Sweet. Did you see the last episode of
literally me? Wait a minute. How many shots did they get? 500 and 500. Oh Jesus! Like I didn't know. Yeah. And the +1 stack. Who knew?
Yeah, it's the thing is that you can't hide from it. Is the biggest thing. You know what I mean? Like if you have what we were saying before with the planes, when you have, your 30-point tank that had 43 last cannons on it, and it's direct shots, and I can touch it, I can do something about it. Planes just go, hey man, I can see you. Where can you not see me? No, I can always see you. Indirect. You're just like, it was so crazy feeling.
Who plays orcs on over in the studio, guys?
Mark
does.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
he even brought it to the tournament, but after SoCal, we were like, hey,
Gonna have to tone that one down.
let's
bro.
tone that one down. Kind of like getting ready, because since our tournament's like lasting over the course of like 3 months,
Yeah.
we were like, we got to be prepared for like whatever's gonna happen, and this probably isn't gonna. It's not entertaining to watch that. Like a turn one dead.
Yeah, well, it was crazy. They had an entire tournament. You got to think, if you went to the London GT meta, where they had a little bit of an open boards too. They've since now actually added some terrain for that, but they had fairly open boards, man. It was whoever went first. They were so aggressive in their builds between the orcs and the Admech. It was nuts. You're like, what happened? Game's over. You're like, what?
Welcome to Europe, Brad. Welcome to Europe. I think SKU list that's pretty standard.
I think
it was just so crazy.
What are you guys excited like in that tournament? Are you guys gonna let like the new shit come in?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
ready to talk about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody's got to rebuild. Essentially, almost everybody has to rebuild their list.
Only 2 people are rebuilding their list.
No, Mark.
Not
3.
take all the buggies and planes.
Yeah.
No, like the whatever the new book, the campaign book. I talked shit about it like 5 minutes ago.
Well, don't no. Leave them alone. Come on, man. I just got it. Let me have fun with it. So
Like, I'm excited for that. I haven't played 40K
I'm not gonna lie. I think
as long as Brad's been alive, so a long time.
the speed walk itself, I think, is going to be cool. The Army of Renown, with OPSEC bikes,
Bikers, come on.
OPSEC bikes. You can assault. You can assault. Because of that, you can literally turbo up 20 and still shoot. I think that it's going to be fine. You're gonna see orc lists that are more interactive, and they might not have the exact same power level, but I think they're going to actually play longer games better. Because right now, effectively, if you had a bad dice rolling game or turn, you just lost that game because your opponent got to the other side and grabbed you. Now you're going to have more things that you need to actually play a game of 40K. You're going to take secondaries and primaries and screen people out. Actually playing 40K as opposed to going, what are you going to do? I'm going to fly over there and I'm going to murder this army. What's your other plan? I don't understand. What are you saying?
There is no
I'm
other
gonna
plan.
fly over there and
so many
murder that army.
plans.
Yeah.
What's your plan? You see this bucket of dice? I'm just gonna roll this.
Yeah.
I don't know, my screen blur. These models have literally never
what
made it to the table. And I've owned them for probably 5 or 6 years. They're beautiful.
Yes, they
You
are.
eat
Easy to
them.
play, so it's great.
Put them all in your mouth.
Yeah, put one in your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
I think same thing I was saying with Drukhari, but actually way to the next level. Basically, I think you're going to see there wasn't enough experimentation of orcs because you basically found out what was good, and then everything else was just not as powerful. So no one played anything else. So you didn't really get a full tinkering with the codex yet. You know what I mean? You're just now seeing, kill rigs and beast bosses and all these other things that might be fully playable if one army isn't ridiculously better than everything else in the codex.
For sure. Now, that is going to be it for this podcast, is covering all of the stuff from the data slate. I think that universally, we are all very, very excited about Games Workshop actually putting out these data slates on a quarterly basis, along with chapter approved as well, with new codices, and then also campaign books. So lots of updates. I'm actually really, really happy about this. I think that before we end this episode, do a roundtable of what you guys think about Games Workshop doing this. Start with Demeki.
Good patch, guys. Y'all did it. Y'all did what the gaming industry does for video games. Good patch.
Okay. Jumpy.
Yeah, I agree. Good patch. Obviously, we'll see. This is the first one. We'll see what they do in the future. Hopefully, I'm sure with everyone, there's going to be a lot of good changes in the one everyone's like, oh. So, we'll see. As long as there's not too many O's, then, we're moving in the right direction.
Okay. All right. Brad?
I'm all positive thinking for it, man, because I'm looking forward to quarterly updates. I mean, there's always the chance they completely poo the bed on it, but I'm going to be all sunshine and say that everything's going to work perfectly and the meta's going to be all even all the time. Every faction's going to be beautiful. I can only hope, but I think we're going the right direction at least, man.
For sure. All right.
The
And
biggest
Val.
the biggest deal about updates was and this I think the reason why things got sad in 40K and I feel like things have been sad for a little while here. Again, just sort of like a neglected, depressed sort of way, is that like before, like during 8th edition, we could always say, "Oh, well, they'll fix it. No problem, guys. Don't worry. They're on it. They'll fix it." And then like all of a sudden they're like, "Nah, we're good.
We'll see you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see." So like now that there's quarterly, it doesn't matter. Like stuff comes out that's busted, like things are like just whack or like out of line. It literally is fine because
It's going to get
there's a
changed in couple
mechanism.
months.
Like it's gonna get fixed, and like that's all you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just wait 3 months.
good.
It's like the bare minimum that they finally did. This is crazy, right? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So,
You mean every other game that gets continuing patches all the time. Yeah.
all right. So that is it for this episode. Brad, where can people reach you? How about you do your plugs?
If you turn on the internet, you'll probably see my silly face talking about 40K and all of the Art of War content. I'm always on there. Do some stuff with Gentleman Gaming, but you can find me all the time. Anything that says Art of War, you'll probably see my old mug staring back at you. So come talk to me about anything 40K related. I don't sleep. I just talk 40K.
All right.
He
Okay.
also doesn't take breaths.
That's
I warned you guys that I would never shut the
Some
hell up.
professions
No
really
one
like
can be
that.
serious
You know,
enough.
you can capitalize on that. Okay.
Back to the studio
Opera singer?
repeatedly.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like the Terminator, bro. I have no pity or remorse, and I will not shut up until everyone's dead.
Okay. And so yeah, that is it for this episode. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Chapter Tactics. We will see you guys next week. Don't know what the topic is, but we'll figure it out like we usually do.
Yep.
If you guys like this type of content, make sure that you guys like it, put it all up in your ear holes, download it, and then share it with your grandmothers. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks.
We love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.